Welcome, everybody. Today, I'm so glad to have Michelle Inauen with us, and she is an online counselor, and she works with both individuals, couples, and families. She's a licensed professional counselor. She's also a licensed marriage and family therapist. She offers judgment-free talk online therapy sessions. And her company is Texas Online Counseling, PLLC, and it provides an outlet for people who have been traumatized by life's negative events. She works to foster a personal relationship with each client with the goal of removing mental and emotional blocks that limits one's abilities. She uses creative talk therapy techniques in a sensitive and supportive environment. As an online therapist with years of patient care experience, she's skilled in men's issues, family therapy, depression, anxiety, and stress and anger management. So Michelle, thank you so much for being with us here today. And I know everyone's going to really benefit from hearing from your experience, how you got started, and what it is that you find beneficial with working with clients online. So to start, can you tell us what states is it that you practice in?
I practice with Texas Online Counseling, Texas.
Uh-huh.
I do have another company in Utah called Collaborative Counseling.
Okay.
Well.
And are you also one of the therapists for the counseling services in Utah?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Excellent. And the clinicians on staff through your organizations, are they all marriage and family therapists, or do they have different licensing?
They have different licensing. The other therapist I have for Texas is licensed professional counselor.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So it sounds like your practice is completely online. Is that right?
Correct. In Texas, yes.
In Texas. Okay. Yeah, so how did you get started with providing online counseling? Why did you choose that rather than having a brick and mortar shop, as they say, with having people come into your office?
Well, a couple of things. I was almost forced into it. I always wanted to have my own practice, but then my husband had to get transferred for work, and we transferred to Utah, and my license didn't transfer, and I couldn't work in Utah. And I still had my active licenses in Texas and my practice. And so I had to find a way to practice in Texas legally and ethically. So this is how I went online. But it has gone very well. And I have lots of people calling relieved that someone actually does it.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah, maybe it's limited in Texas in terms of being able to have a provider. Well, in Texas, having such rural areas, I would imagine that there's a big need for it. So do you specialize in working with couples and families then, or what's your...
Yes, I have two licenses.
Specialize in?
Well, mostly anxiety and depression, but I also have a license and took some classes in education for couples and families. What I like about the couples and in the family therapy is that they don't have to be in the same location at the same time. With today's job market, it seems there's a lot of traveling going on. So we can be anywhere in the world as long as we agree on a time.
Ah, okay. And how does it work for the couples? Do they find that helpful? Do they find it, do they feel like they aren't connecting as well through video as they would if they were in the office, or do they find it more helpful in terms of being able to communicate effectively through video? How do they experience it compared to, say, being in the office? Or are they able to make that comparison?
No one has ever actually given me any feedback about difference. I think it's more about the therapist than if you're in person or on video. And also, depending on the couple, if they want to do the work. So I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. I do think it's easier for them if they have conflicting schedules, if they're busy after work with home life, so that they can do stuff during the day and if they're in different locations. So I feel like they feel more relaxed because there's another option besides after hours, after business hours.
Yeah, yeah, I would imagine it's difficult for one person to find the time to go somewhere, let alone two people.
Right.
Trying to coordinate that, I would imagine it'd be difficult. So I'm interested in like percentage wise, when you do see couples, how often are they in the same room as each other compared to at separate locations?
I'd say 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10 or what?
Um, in
Different
the same
locations?
location.
Oh, in the same. So about 9 out of 10 times they're actually in different locations.
Hmm.
Wow, that's remarkable. Yeah, that's really interesting. So that really speaks to the fact that it's very convenient for them being able to meet through video. And I assume you're meeting them through video or phone or.
The couples and family, I do video. I'm only do the individuals are the only ones I offer phone or video.
Oh, okay, all right. And I imagine like when you're working with a group, if people aren't really good at communicating, say over the phone, having the video helps because they can see each other's facial expressions and reactions to what they're saying, right?
Yes. Mm.
Um, there's research that shows that couples are actually less reactive to each other when receiving services virtually online than they are if they're in the same, room as one another. So that could be helpful in a way. They could
Yeah.
also feel safer.
Yes.
They could be more disclosing.
Hmm.
They could be harsher to each other. I don't know, but yeah. But can you give us some insight in terms of how it works for your clients, how they experience the process, any complaints, any challenges that you come across since they're working virtually rather than being in the same room as you during the sessions?
I don't feel that it has to do with technology. It would be as same in person. So if someone tends to be late a lot anyway, then
Uh,
it's the same online. But I don't think there's any issues that involving technology.
oh, okay. Yeah. So the technology isn't really the thing that causes, say, challenges or
Mm-mm.
different issues. It's just, you know, how the couple's going to be, whether they're in office or not.
Yes.
So like you mentioned, motivation. I know working with couples, it has a lot to do with motivation.
Yes.
So are you going into couples counseling wanting to change the other or being open to,
Working on yourself. Yes.
yeah, right. Or focused on the relationship or getting what you want, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you committed to actually doing some work or not? Definitely makes a big difference. So what was helpful for you in the process? Was it hard for you to get started in this? And how'd you get started? How'd you prepare for it?
I don't feel it was difficult. I do have multiple licenses, so the LPC was different than the MFT, but the MFT had more requirements, so I had to fulfill. And I think your course offered 18 hours. I needed 15 hours of initial telehealth training, and I had to complete that and show that, and that was all. And if you're comfortable with technology, it should be fine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you needed the 15 hours being a marriage and family therapist in Texas,
Yes.
right? Because Texas requires the 15 hours. Yeah. So different states, some states have specific requirements. Most don't.
Right.
But yeah, Texas is one of them. So if an individual or a couple or a family is wanting services from you, the best way to find you, I imagine, would be on your website. Is that right?
Yes. Well, I think it's pretty. Um, you get to couples. I take insurance as well, so you can find me on insurance portals as well as my website.
Oh, okay. All right. And is there anything you'd like to point out about your website?
Um, yeah, I wanted to express, with pictures that I work with diverse clientele. I am comfortable with different ethnicities, different genders, different religions, different politics. You're all welcome to come to Texas Online Counseling.
And does anyone in your practice speak any languages other than English?
Me, I speak Spanish moderately. Sometimes on better days. I have better days than others, but I wouldn't say I was fluent.
Okay. All right. I see you have a page here in terms of why choose online counseling. All right. Excellent. Well, yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing with us. Any advice for clinicians who are considering doing online counseling, but maybe have cold feet and, not so sure that they're going to be able to do it, or concerns about being able to get clients into the office, getting clients, right? The
Mm-hmm.
marketing, and are people actually going to be interested in receiving online counseling? Any recommendations for people wanting to get started?
Yes, I believe that you need to be comfortable with technology or the client will not be.
Uh-huh.
I also recommend some basic guidelines. For example, I allow my patients to be in their car as long as it's parked, but not while they're driving.
Uh-huh.
Or if they're on their phone, you can't be driving. You have to be parked. And I will allow them time to park if necessary. Also, I think the biggest obstacle has been barking dogs in the background. So if I think that's been the hardest thing. If you can keep your dogs from barking, we can have a good session.
Right. Their dog is distracting to you, or your dog's distracting to them?
I don't have a pet, so you hear barking and then they can't
Yeah.
concentrate and they get distracted.
Okay. Yeah. There's definitely can be distractions at on the client's end.
Yeah.
They don't have their, environment set up for it. Definitely. Well, thank you very much. And it's good to hear about your practice. People know where to find you, and we'll definitely have your, information in the details.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle.